Okay, so let me say good evening to everyone, and I hope that you've had a good day thus far. Tonight, we're going to look at interchanging fractions, percents, and decimals, ratio and proportion, and percent applications. Now, that's an ambitious plan, and I probably won't finish it, but I do have a complete recording of this in my media. So, in the media gallery. So, I'll cover what I can, and then the rest of it, you can look at it in the media gallery because this usually takes about 3 or 4 days. Okay. All right, good enough. So before we get started, let's just do a little review. We have some signed numbers here. So if you could just work these out, and we'll check these and we'll give ourselves a minute to check the answers to this. Okay. So let's take 1 minute. All right, so our time is up. So let's see what our answers are. So for the first one, 4 plus -5, you get -1. 3 minus 2 equals a +1. Now here we have these two negatives coming together. 7 plus 2, that gives us 9. A positive times a negative is a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay. Any questions about these? Any questions? All right, it's good enough. So we want to change a decimal to a fraction. In order to change a decimal to a fraction, you have to read the decimal correctly. So this is 0.25. That's not how we read this. So we need to make sure that we know the place value. And so the place value, if this is your decimal, this is tenths. And all of these to the right of the decimal point will have the THS, meaning that it's part of a whole. So that's tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and then the next will be 100,000ths, and then millions. Okay, so that these are the place values. So the fact that we have 0 to 5, this is in the hundreds place. Okay, so this is 25 hundreds. Okay, 25 hundreds. That would be the fraction, and then we need to reduce. Now we see that this ends in a 5 and this ends in a 0. So we can use 5 to divide into each one of these. 5 will go into 25 5 times. 5 will go into 100 20 times. But now we can do this again. 5 into 5, 1. 5 into 24. So we could have used 25 to divide into both of these. All right, so now we want to write this fraction as a decimal. Okay, so to change a fraction to a decimal, divide the denominator into the numerator. Okay, and this is a terminating decimal. Terminating means that it ends. Okay, so we don't have to do any rounding here. So to change a fraction to a decimal, divide the denominator into the numerator. So let's do that. So we're going to divide the denominator, which is 50, into the numerator, 17. Put your decimal point. Okay. Now, 50 would not divide 17. Let's add a 0. 50 would go into 170 3 times. 3 times 50 is 150. Subtract 2, 0, add another 0, bring that down, and 4. And we get 200. So this is 0.34. Now, notice this is a terminating decimal because terminate means that it ends. Very good. All right, and so 26 and 13/50. So this is a mixed number. That's the whole. So we got 26, and now we need to see what that's going to be. So 15 into 13, add your decimal point, annex a 0. This is 2, 30006. And so you get 26 plus 0.26. Okay. All right, let's try this one. It says use your calculator to write 50/13 as a decimal, and we're going to round it to the nearest tenth. Okay. Now let's go back to our place value, tenths, hundreds. Now, why am I putting the hundreds here? If I want to round to the nearest tenth, which is here, I have to look to the right. So I have to look at the hundreds to see what that would be. Okay. So I say 13, put my decimal. So 13 would divide 50 3 times. 3 times 13 is 39. We're going to subtract 1, 1, add your 0, bring that down. So 13 would divide 110, what, 8 times? And you can use your calculator with this. 8 times 13, this is 4, 104. Subtract 6, annex a 0. 13 will go into 60, what, 4 times? 4 times 13 is 52, and you get 8. Now, you don't worry about what's left because we rounded this to the nearest tenth. So we only need to take it out 2 decimal places, okay? So we have 3.84. I look to the right, okay? If this number is 5 or more, I add 1 to the 8 and drop the number off. This is not 5 or more, so it stays the same. 3.8 would be my answer, okay? All right, questions about that? Let me let you try one. So change 11/25 to a decimal. And you can put your answer in the chat. Change 11/25 to a decimal. Okay, I see some answers coming in. So let's see. So I say 25 into 11, put my decimal, and x is 0. 25 will divide 110 4 times. 4 times 25 is 100. Subtract, and x is 0. 25 will divide 100 4 times. So 0.44, 44 hundredths. Very good. Let's try this one. Change 4/7 to a decimal, round to the nearest tenth. Okay. And you can use your calculator with this. Unless if you have a calculator, you can use it with this one. So I'll give you a minute to get started, and then I'll use a calculator and show you how that looks. Okay, so I'm going to show you on this Desmos calculator so that you see what it looks like. If I can find it. Ooh. So here is the Desmos calculator, and we want to change 4/7. So I say 4 divided by 7, and hopefully, all right, and so we get this number here. Let's see if we can view it a bit bigger. Okay. All right, so we get 0.57. Okay, we're to round it to the nearest tenth. The 5 is in the tenths place. And so we look to the right, and that's 7. If that number is 5 or more, we add 1 to the underlying number and drop off all the numbers. So we would add 1 to this 5 and get 0.6. Okay, so the answer would be 0.6. Any questions about that? Any questions? So 0.6. Everybody okay with that? Great. Okay. So now we're getting ready to begin our new information, percents, fractions, decimals, ratio, proportions. Okay. All right. The first thing we want to know is that percent means for each and every 100. Now, how do we arrive at this? The part here, per, means for each and every. And then CENT means 100. Okay. So percent means for each and every 100. So the reference is going to be 100. So I want to stop and I want you to get that in your mind. I want you to say it to yourself that the reference is 100. Okay. So let's say that to yourself. The reference is 100, because that's going to be very important. Okay. So if you have a fraction, since the reference is 100, then the denominator is 100. If you have a decimal, 2 decimal places will be the hundredths place. The reference is 100. If we have a fraction, the denominator is going to be 100. If we have a decimal, 2 decimal places mean hundredths. That's the hundredths place. Okay. The reference is 100. If I have a fraction, that means my denominator is 100. If I'm dealing with decimals, that means I have 2 decimal places. Okay. All right. So the first thing we want to do is change a percent to a decimal. Okay. We want to change a percent to a decimal. Okay, now percent means for each and every 100. In order to change a percent to a decimal, we're going to remove the percent symbol and move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, to change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. Now note, if you have a fraction in the percent, now notice the word in here, if I have a fraction in the percent, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we go forward. You need to change the fraction to a decimal and then move the decimal 2 places to the left. Now, if the fraction repeats, you're going to round. This is why we practiced a few minutes ago on rounding. Okay. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. So to change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, here we go. All right, so these are percents. Now, how do we know that they are percents? Because we see a percent symbol. So let's go through and diagram this. These are percents, and the numbers used in the percent are whole numbers. That's very important. Okay, the numbers used are whole numbers, but these are percents. So to change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. So let's do that. Okay, let's remove the percent symbol and move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay. All right, so I'm going to remove the percent symbol. This is 4. And I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So the decimal is here, 1, 2. Okay, so this is 0, 0, 4. So 4% is 4 hundredths. 4 hundredths. Okay, 4%, 4 out of 100. That's what that means. 15% means for each and every 100. So 15% means 15 out of 100. Okay, so I'm going to remove the percent symbol, and then I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. Now I always like to put the 0 to the left of the decimal. I mean, you don't have to, but that's 0.15. Now 100% means all of it. Okay, 100% means all of it, which is a whole. So I'm going to remove the percent symbol, and then I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So that gives me 1 whole. And we knew that because 100% means all of it. All right, 125%. We're over 100% this time. So I'm going to remove the percent symbol, and I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. All right. Any questions about that? Everybody okay with that? To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol and move the decimal 2 places to the left. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol and move the decimal 2 places to the left. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. Now, you probably wonder why I'm saying this so many times. I'm saying it so that you can hear it and internalize it, and hopefully you're saying it to yourself, because this is going to get real tricky in a few minutes. Okay. All right. These are percents. Remember, if it has a percent symbol, it is a percent. Okay. So don't leave me. Don't draw up, because remember, I've said this about 10 times. To change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol, move the decimal 2 places to the left. If you have a fraction in the percent, you need to change the fraction to a decimal, then move it 2 places to the left. Okay. All right. These are percents. How do we know they're percents? Because we see the percent symbol. Okay. So to change a percent to a decimal, remove the percent symbol and move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay. So this is 2.5. Okay. I have removed the percent symbol, and now I need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. When I do that, I get 025, and I like the 0 in front of that like that. Okay. Any questions about that?
Specific to remove the percentage, you can just take it off like that.
Yeah, see, when I remove the percent symbol, I have to do something to compensate for it. And what I did, I moved the decimal 2 places to the left. That's how you compensate for moving the percent symbol. Does that answer your question? Okay, ask it again so to make sure that it's clear.
So you just like moved it over and just wrote 2.5% as 2.5. Then you just move the already existing decimal point 2 spots over.
Okay, no, it's
But
not 2.5, it's 0.025. Yeah, because Yeah, I had to move the decimal.
Okay.
Okay. All right, 0.7%. So let me, because I'm trying to show the steps here. All right, I have to remove I have to remove the percent symbol. So when I remove the percent symbol, I got 0.7. But now if I remove the percent symbol, I've got to do something to compensate for that. I have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So this is, now this cup doesn't have a number. It has to have a number. So that's 007. So this is the answer for that. Questions about that? Stay with me now. Don't run away, because we got to do this 1/4%. Okay. We have to do 1/4%. Okay. Now, this is a percent because we have a percent symbol. The number used in this percent is a fraction. I can use a different form of that. Okay. I know that 1/4 is 0.25. So I can change this to 0.25%. Would you agree with that? How do we know that? We know 1/4 as a decimal is 0.25. So I can change the number out of my percent from fraction to decimal if it helps me. Okay, so let me stop and see if there are questions about that. This is still a percent. I just changed the number that's used in the percent to a decimal because I want to change it to a decimal. This is not a decimal yet. This is still a percent because we have the percent symbol. The number used in the percent is a decimal. The number used in the percent here is a fraction. The number used here is a decimal. The number used here is a decimal. But these are percents, okay? Now, they don't become decimals until I remove the percent symbol and move the decimal point, okay? All right, so this is 0.25%. Change this to a decimal for me. And this is what you see in the news. The interest rate is going down by 0.25%, and this is what's happening. So it's not a lot, okay? All right, so we move the percent symbol. Okay. And then I need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So this is what we have. See, that's not a lot. That's 25 10,000ths. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at 7 1/8%. Okay. 7 1/8%. So we need to change 1/8 to a decimal. So let's come over here and we'll get some scrap paper. And so let's see what 1/8 is. One. So that's 2. And that's 5. So I can, this is what? 7.125%. Okay. All right. So we need to change that to a decimal. Change that to a decimal for me. Okay. All right, so we're going to drop the percent symbol, and I need to move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. Okay, because the 1/8 is the 0.125, so 7.125, move it 2 places, 1, 2, 0.07125. Questions about that? That's fine. The main thing is that you tried. I mean, that's good. That's good. I don't have any problems with it. Okay. All right, let's do 18.5%. Okay, so we need to take the half and see what that is. We already know what that is, 0.5. Okay, so we got 18.5%. What would that be as a decimal? 18.5% as a decimal. Okay, I see one answer. Are there others? Are there other answers? Anyone else have something they want to? Did they have their answer? Okay, so I get 18.5, and I need to move it 2 places. 1, 2. 0.185. Very good. All right, let's do this last one. 66 2/3%. Do that one for me. Um, yeah, do that one for me. See what you get. 66 2/3%. Sixty-six 2/3%. What is that equal to? Any guesses? Well, we do need, yeah, it is. So we do need to take the 2/3 and see what that is, okay? Huh. So this repeats, okay? So it's repeating. So I'm going to take it out those 3 places. So it actually keeps going on like that, okay? So this is going to be, so this is 66 and 2/3%. So this is 66.666. And we can put 3 dots or we can put a bar over it. That means that it repeats, okay? All right, so we're going to drop the percent symbol. And we're going to move it 2 places to the left, 1, 2. And so we have all these 6s, so we can put a bar there, okay? And we can round this to the nearest hundreds, okay? So we could have something like this, okay? Or we can round it to the nearest 10th. We will have something like this, okay? Typically, we would probably round it to the nearest hundreds. So we have 0.67, okay? 0.666, okay? Any questions about changing a percent to a decimal? Changing a percent to a decimal. Any questions? Okay, well, I want to test your knowledge of how we do this. All right, so we're gonna try this, and this is where you need to go. You need to go to Hello Smart, and then you're gonna hellosmart.com, put in this number, and then you just register as a guest, and then we're going to um, test our answers. Okay, so do that for me, and let me see if it's running. Trying to see if anyone is in. So I see that Juan is in there. Oh, okay. Let's see, have I'm gonna give you a few more minutes and then we'll have to see what we can do. Well, what is the class ID? Oh, you can't get in? I'm sorry. Let's see here. Here we go. Five 517-536. It's on the screen. Okay, so let's test. Let's see how well you did. All right, so 0.5% is this one. Okay. 85% is that one. 2.4%, 0.024. 2%, 0.02. Okay, 7.2/5%, 0.074. Oh. And then this one. Okay. All right. So how did you do? How did you do on that? Did you get them all right? What's the website? Hello, here it is here. hellosmart.com. And then you have that number, and then let's type in guess. Okay. All right. So we have looked at changing a percent to a decimal. So you know what we're getting ready to do next. We're going to reverse ourselves. We want to change a decimal to a percent. Yeah, okay, let me restart it then. Because it'll end after a certain amount of time. I need to see if I can do something that'll let us say it's open. Yeah, it's open now if you want to play with it. But be careful because we get ready to move to changing a decimal to a percent. Okay. So Robin, is it letting you in now? Yeah, and then it'll just end after a certain amount of time. So, okay, so we want to change a decimal to a percent. Well, guess what? If we change a percent to a decimal and we move the decimal 2 places to the left, to change a decimal to a percent, we move it 2 places to the right. We just move it back, okay? All right, so to change a decimal to a percent, move the decimal 2 places to the right. So let's do that. 1, 2, so this is 5%. Now, this is 8, so the decimal is here. 1, 2, 800%. This is the decimal here. 1, 2. This is a huge percent. Okay. 1, 2. 13%. So to change a decimal to a percent, move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, that's straightforward. So we've looked at changing a percent to a decimal and a decimal to a percent. Okay, let's look at changing a percent to a fraction. Changing a percent to a fraction. Okay. To change a percent to a fraction, remove the percent symbol. Notice we always have to remove the percent symbol. But because we're changing it to a fraction, we're not going to move the decimal because we're not trying to change it to a decimal. We're going to put it over 100. Remember, the reference for percent is hundreds and then the 2 decimal places. So to change a percent to a fraction, remove the percent symbol, put it over 100, then reduce. Okay, putting the number over 100 is the same as dividing by 100. Okay, now you can also change the fraction to a decimal and then the decimal to a percent. So we'll look at all of this to see which you like better. Okay, so put it over 100 and then reduce the fraction, or you can change it to a decimal and then change the decimal to a percent. Let's go back and forth, or we can multiply the fraction by 100. So we'll look at the 3 different ways that we can do this. Okay. All right, we want to change a percent to a decimal. All right. So to change a percent to a decimal, we were told remove the symbol, put the number over 100. And then reduce. All right, so this is 2 over 100. And we want to reduce that. And 2 will go into 2 one time, 2 will go into 100 50 times. So 2% is 1 over 50. Any questions about that? All right. Well, you might say, all right, 2%, is is there another way that I can perhaps do this 2%? This is the quickest way. Put it over 100 and then reduce it. But you might just want to stick with something else. You might want to say, okay, I'm going to change this to a decimal and then change the decimal to a fraction. Now, to change this decimal to a fraction, you have to read it correctly. Tenths, hundreds. This is 200s. Now, notice this just takes us back to where we were, and then you still got to reduce this 1/50. So it just depends on what you're doing here. Okay. So changing the percent to a fraction. All right, let's do number 2, 45%. Remove the symbol, put it over 100, and then we want to reduce. Now this ends in 5 and 0, so we know that 5 are going to 45 9 times, 5 are going to 120 times. So the fraction is 9/20. Okay. All right, let's look at number 3. 33.5%. Now, do not draw up on me. Just stay calm, flat-footed. You got this. We're going to stick with the rule. The rule says to put this over 100. Now, this is a complex fraction, and it looks complex to you, but let's rewrite this into how we normally see fractions. 33.5 over 100. We can change this. We can change this to 33.5 divided by 100. Voila. Now we are dividing mixed numbers. We know how to divide fractions because we just looked at fractions. I mean, isn't this wonderful? I mean, this math just builds upon each other. So now we know we need to change this to an improper fraction. So 2 times 33 is 66 plus 1 is 67. We need to change this to a fraction, 100 over 1. And we know how to divide fractions. Dividing fractions, you need to flip the right one. And which one is the right one? The one on the right. We need to flip the one on the right. Now, flip means turn it over, get the reciprocal. So we have 1/100. Now, how do we multiply fractions? It's the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. So we have 67 over 200. This is what the fraction equivalence of 33.5% is. 67 200ths. Okay, questions about that? Any questions? All right, you try number 4, 14.1/5%. Okay, 14.1/5%. What would that be? 14.1/5%. Change that percent to a fraction. We remove the percent symbol, put it over 100. We're going to change this division to 14.1/5 divided by 100. We're going to change it to what we normally see when we divide with fractions. Then we're going to change this to a fraction. What's that? 71. We're going to change this to a fraction, and then we're going to flip. Top times the top, bottom times the bottom. 71 over 500. Very good. Okay. All right. Do 1/4%, and then we'll do a decimal, and then we'll move on. So we want to do 1/4%. And then we want to do we're going to do number 7, 0.25%. We'll do those. Okay, so let's see what we got. So I'm going to put 1/4 over 100. And then I'm going to change that division to this. Okay. Now everything has to be a fraction. So this is already a fraction. I need to put a 1 under that. And then I need to flip the 1 on the right. Top times the top, bottom times the bottom. So 1 over 400, 1/4%. Okay. 1 over 400. Questions about that? Let me quickly do this last one because we're running out of time. Make sure that you are getting pictures so that you can post. So I need to remove the decimal. I mean the percent symbol and put it over 100. Okay. But now this time, because this is a decimal instead of a fraction, what I can do here is this. So this is 0.25 over 100. What I can do is move the decimal 2 places to make that a whole number. But if I move it 2 places up here, I need to move it 2 places down here. And then I need to reduce this. So that you need to reduce it. But let's suppose you don't want to do that. So it's 0.25 over this. Let's say that you want to stick with the game plan that we've been doing, division here. If you do that, then you need to change this to a fraction. So how do you read this? This is 25 hundredths divided by 100 over 1. So you need to flip. Okay. Now, remember, the other fractions we could not reduce. We can reduce along the diagonal. 25 into 25, 1. 25 into 100, 4. 1 over 400. See, this needs to be reduced. Okay. That needs to be reduced. So 25 will go into 25 one time. 25 will go into 10,400 times. So we do get the same thing. Okay. So 1 over 400. Now I am out of time, and as I shared with you, it usually takes about 3 or 4 days, but we don't have 3 or 4 days. And so in the media gallery, I will pull this out because I've completed this another term so that you can see the rest of this, okay? Because it is 9 o'clock. And let me stop and see if there are any questions. So we've looked at percent to decimal, decimal to percent, percent to fraction. So we have fraction to percent. And then you need to talk about ratio of proportions and then percent. So there are about 3 more lessons here. And so I have a video for those in the media gallery. But anyway, any questions from anyone? And I want to thank all of you for showing up. It went rather fast, but anyway. You're welcome. Any questions? If you do have questions, you can just post them in the discussions. You can always ask a question in the discussion. You're welcome. Good night. I'm going to stop the recorder.